Hello there, everybody. I hope you are doing well. I am a FAA with Touch by Tarot and Beyond. If you are new to the channel, you just landed here, I'm glad you're here. I hope you stick around, hit that like and subscribe button. I am a certified tarot reader, tarot and oracle reader. I am also, again, if you're new to me, I'm also a former newspaper journalist, so that helps inform the way that I approach my readings and try to get a lot of information, and get myself prepared before I go to spirit to get insight. And thirdly, I am an initiated priestess, both in the Wiccan tradition, pagan, and also African. So got a lot going on. I love every bit of it and try to do the best I can using all of those things to bring you some good content worth your while. If you are an existing subscriber, thank you so very much. I appreciate you more than I can say. And my members, can't say thank you enough. Want to continue to offer you my absolute best. I do monthly Zoom meetings as well. We've got one coming up on the 28th of this month. So that's a special bonus that I offer for my members, is we actually get together live on Zoom once a month and hash it out a little bit. So feel free. I'll put a link below if you're interested, in the description box, if you're interested in becoming a channel member. And let's go in. I got a few things I want to look at. First, let's give a huge shout out to all of the people around the country who participated in the 50501 protests, right? No King's Day, incredible turnout. Quite a bit of, stink people had to raise on social media like, hey, news outlets, why aren't you covering this? MSNBC certainly did a solid job, and then some others got on board with it as well. So, again, credit to all of those who turned out and had their voices heard. Flip side of that, we also saw, let's see, who is he today? Let's just go with F47, fake 47, felon 47, F47. Okay, for entertainment purposes only, I gotta do it. And he's a Daytona 500 while people, the sky is falling, right? People are just going through so much tension, especially our hearts and prayers continuing to go out to everybody in America, number one, and across the globe for that matter, but certainly federal workers who are, department by department by department are being targeted, and just can't imagine how that feels, to just out of the blue be told you're no longer necessary, has nothing to, or your performance wasn't up to par. We hear the stories. So please, let's continue to send everyone impacted by this energetically some light, some encouragement, and keep them in our prayers. All right, a couple of things I want to look at today. F47 yesterday, taking that little victory lap around the Daytona 500. Of course, I didn't watch that, but I did see some images of him when I was going through some news stories last night and this morning. He is looking worse and worse and worse by the day. We saw him hunched over that desk like he was trying to hold himself up in that Oval Office thing with Elon and his little son, who, we also 13, but we're up to kid number 13 now by a 26-year-old. Okay, but that's not what I'm reading on today. Let me stay focused. Thank you, Spirit. Okay, but I do want to look at his health, you all. That's gonna be 79. I'm saying Spirit almost had me say supposedly 79 by June. I want to see if he's gonna make it, or I kept hearing looming health crisis. That's exactly what I kept hearing in my spirit. Looming health crisis. That's what my guides kept saying. So I want to take a look at Donald Trump's health, F47. Second thing I want to look at is, we heard also new development around the FAA layoffs, right? Then on the heels of that, here we go with the Delta flight in Toronto, flew out of Minneapolis, started in Minneapolis, landed in Toronto, flipped over. We've all seen the images by now. But then on the heels of that, we hear, so now the FAA, firing FAA workers, destroying that department as well. But now we're going to replace them with SpaceX employees. Did you all hear that? All right. So I want to take a look at how that's going to fly. If that is in fact a part of Muskrat's plan is taking over the FAA with his own people, putting his own people in there so he can literally take over our flight operations in the country. And how's that going to go with the heads of airlines around the country? I want to take a look at that. Third thing, this really got an eyebrow raised. What's his name? Tim Burchett, Republican out of Tennessee, staunch Trumper, has said that he thinks that part of why the congressional leaders, or not just leaders, members of Congress, period, are just laying down and letting themselves be rolled over by Musk, especially, is because they are afraid the Musketeers, got to give our girl Jasmine Crockett credit for that term. I saw this. She was giving a talk. Many of you probably saw it on YouTube as part of the Doge Committee. And she brought out this big poster board, highlighting some of her points. That woman is bringing the fire. Let's continue to keep our prayers around her as well. She is certainly one of the most important voices that we have right now in Congress. So she coined the phrase Musketeers. I'm going to hold on to that. Are the Musketeers, are congressmen afraid that part of this data that the Musketeers are going after with the breach of the Treasury, and now we're hearing breach of the Social Security Administration, SSA, is because they are gathering dirt on congressional folk, because they know that part of this funding for many government programs, that that congressional folk have been funneling that money to their wives, their girlfriends, and perhaps even their side pieces. All right, for entertainment purposes only. Are we not entertained? And I want to take a look at that, because for him to come out and say that, and his other point was that's going to actually perhaps precipitate the pushback from the GOP when they see that, sure enough, that their business is getting ready to get put all in the streets. If that will be enough for them to grow a spine and begin to push back on Musk. Gonna take a look at that. All right, you all, let's go in. So first, let me center my energy. F47's health by June. Is he approaching a looming health crisis? Is there a looming health crisis for F47 Spirit? Is there a looming health crisis? And will he make it to June? Show me his health by June of this year. Is there a looming health crisis for DJT F47? Is there a looming health crisis for him? We have strength at the bottom of the deck. I am using, by the way, just because, the times that we're in, it's called the Somnia Tarot. It was created by someone who, during the COVID pandemic, just, everybody was in a state, and it's certain aspects of this time we're in feel that way, doesn't it? Don't they? Okay. Strength. His strength waning. The Three of Wands being propped up. And also this feels like a growth of an existing condition. We've heard about, mental decline. Perhaps we know his father had Alzheimer's. Perhaps the onset of Alzheimer's. Not wishing any of it. Got to be careful of that as well in terms of ethically. But it is what it is. So this feels like a growth of something. The Eight of Wands, the speed of a growth of something that saps his strength, physical strength, not just what's happening with him mentally, his physical ability. Is this going to turn into a health crisis, Spirit? The Tower. The Tower, y'all. A breakdown. And the Hierophant, a breakdown. This can be government institutions, executive, the highest executive, right? Hurts to say it, but you get the point. And that's a crisis. Tower and the Hierophant, that's a crisis right there. Watch for it, you all. Again, not wishing it, but it is what it is. And another three, the Three of Pentacles, on the heels of that Three of Wands that we got. And I also, Spirit is telling me this is also the three, what should have been or was supposed to be constitutionally, the three branches of government, right? The SCOTUS, Congress, and the executive branch. And there's a crisis there with that Tower, because he's losing strength. Death. All right, we'll look at it again. I'm feeling Spirit is even telling me don't even go any further. It is what it is. Something's up. Something's up. I mean, I only pulled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards. Of that 7, you know, when you get, if you're not familiar with tarot, usually when you pull major arcana, it's big. It's like big stuff is about to go down. And we have death. We have the Hierophant. We have the Tower. And we had strength. 4 out of that 7 cards were major arcana. His strength waning, it leads to a huge boom with the Tower and the Hierophant. Him being, you know, this figure in government, and death. Now, death doesn't have to mean death. Death could mean an ending of some sort, a huge transition. But the idea that you've got the 2 cards in the major arcana that really can indicate big, almost unavoidable shifts are the Tower and death. And both of those came in this reading. Keep your eye out for it. Something's about to break with him. All right. All right. Let's move on to this thing with SpaceX. Let me shuffle the cards. This thing with SpaceX taking over, essentially, Muskrat making plans to replace departing FAA employees with his own SpaceX folks. Is that about to happen? Was that part of the plan? Is that part of the plan? And will that fly, Spirit? Are we going to see a takeover by SpaceX of the FAA? Are we going to see a takeover by the people from SpaceX taking over the FAA, Federal Aviation Administration? Are we going to see a takeover by the folks from SpaceX of the FAA? Hierophant comes again at the bottom of the deck. That's the institution itself, the FAA. Who's running it? Who's really in charge of it? The Hermit comes. A dedicated effort to do so. That is the plan, you all. You know, and part of a lot of what we're hearing with this dismantling of the federal government is because, and the conflict that we can clearly see with our eyes and hear with our ears, is that the extent to which Musk stands to benefit financially from this. He has billions in government dollars. You all know all that. So there's, but it's, you know, more. I want to control it. I don't want to have to just ask for it and apply for it and get it. I want to control it. The Hermit with the Hierophant and Justice. Spirit is coming. All right, I hear you, Somnia Tarot. Spirit is bringing in the energy today. And Justice. This is a hiccup. Spirit, is this going to be, will there be pushback because it's so obvious that the FAA is which is already in need of people. We've already, you know, been experiencing and witnessing all of these plane crashes. Not that the one yesterday, we haven't really heard all of the details. They were saying it could have been in part due to extreme bad weather and wind, and the condition of the landing strip with the snow. Ace of Swords and the Ten of Cups, an outpouring of information, the Queen of Wands, and the High Priestess. Things are going to come to light around this things are going to come to light around the true intentions of Musk to usurp and take over the FAA with his own people at SpaceX. And I think there's what Spirit is saying here with that justice card. There's going to be they see it as a money grab, 9 of coins. Ultimately, will that be stopped, Spirit? Will there be a line in the sand and it will step up and stop? 3 of Wands. I think, we've been seeing these lawsuits, but part of these lawsuits, you all, we've even heard Tanya Chutkan, who yesterday had a hearing. She's supposed to rule, I think, today on this access to the Treasury. I think, if I'm not mistaken. So many cases have been going before different judges, but we know when we hear Tanya Chutkan, we definitely, we lean in because we know she won't play. But she did say that and we've heard this before, in order for these federal judges to make rulings that can stick against this administration, they have to be able to demonstrate harm, where the harm has happened or occurred. And the 3 of Wands, I think what Spirit is saying here, there's growing momentum. It won't just be about SpaceX and the FAA. It was that, and it was the federal workers, and it was this, and it was that, and it was the Treasury. It's all of these pieces that are growing that are going to be a part of that resistance with the justice system, where the courts can really begin to do some definitive rulings that will stick. And even if it goes to the Supreme Court, thank you, Spirit. If you're new to me, when I'm on a roll like that and I get an ace is a yes for me. It's my spirit guide's way of saying I'm on track. I'm getting it right. And we have the Ace of Pentacles. So expect some blowback from that. I don't think that by any means is a done deal. That may be what he's planning, to take over the FAA and just make it his own, a new version, a sub-entity of his SpaceX program. All right, and finally, you all, I want to take a look at this scuttlebutt around with these different government entities being decimated. That one of the reasons that the Congressional folk have been laying down and just sort of watching it happen and afraid to really combat Musk and Doge is, trying to get to the root. Like, why? Why would you just simply give up your power because he said he would primary you? Because Elon came out and said, if you resist me, I got the money. I'll primary you. I'll make sure you don't, I'll get rid of you. I'll get you up out of here. Is that enough? Or is it also now we've got Tim Burchett, dropping some tea around the idea that, hey, some of this money has been going to their folk, to the wives, to the girlfriends, starting up their companies or their nonprofits or whatever that they could get government funding. And is that part of what the Musketeers, these young goons that are going in and trying to, taking access to all of this, is that part of their directive to get in there and find information on specifically to be able to hold over the heads of Congress people? We have the Page of Pentacles, and the Strength card comes again. Building with information. Pages are new. Pages are go see what you can find, and I also feel like this is indicative of these young goons that are a part of Doge. So that is their directive. I feel like Spirit is confirming that. That is part of their directive. I know that it is extremely scary for all of us to know that access can be given to information, and then all of our information, and then what can be done with that. But part of the intent for now, there are targets, is what we're seeing here. The Knight of Swords, movement to find the information on these people that can be used, and they know that it's out there, right? They know if they've been hooking up their wives and girlfriends and side chicks or whoever, they know that information is out there. And there's the Tower again. Tower doesn't just, look, you got 78 cards in Tarot. Tower doesn't just pop out every day for no reason. Big blow up. And they are afraid that this could destroy their careers, set some fire to some marriages, even perhaps for entertainment purposes only. Four of Wands, talking about marriages. That is often a card that indicates commitment, marriages. Two of Wands, how do they move forward in the future? Three of Cups, another marriage card, as well as social, and the Five of Cups. And I actually want to show that to you. See them all bound up. Like, what am I supposed to do? That's how they're feeling. That's how many, that's been their posture in Congress. Spirit, will that be enough to make them start to wake up and fight Musk? Will the GOP, especially in Congress, because it's in there, they got the numbers by that much, but they got the numbers across both the Senate and the House. King of Pentacles and the Lovers and the Page of Wands. I get it. I feel like this is in this reading, this is representing Musk, King of Pentacles, the guy who's threatening with the money, getting access to all the records with the money, etc., information, money. Lovers representing his partnership, Musk's partnership with F47, and they are realizing that it is not just, in order for them to stand up against Musk, they've got to be able to get through to F47 that they are afraid of that connection as well. They've got to figure out how to get some distance between the two of them. And we've got the Page of Wands. They're trying to talk about and figure out how to do that. There are a lot of conversations happening behind closed doors, you all. That's what it is. How do we get some distance between Musk and F47? Because once we do that, we can get in. And there's the Empress. Thank you for that confirmation. The Empress is growth, expansion, fertility, nurturing. And in the context of this reading, there's something where this is someone who could get close to F47 with the Eight of Swords and the High Priestess, those secrets coming out. So there's someone involved, and this doesn't have to be a woman, but it has to be someone who understands growth. This is Congress controls the purse, used to anyway. This is the function of the Empress, the function of growth, the function of abundance, the function of the purse, the function of money within the government, and that they are trying to make a move, Page of Wands, but they've got to be really, really careful and secretive about it. They can't let Elon see them coming, and their goal is to get to F47 just enough to be able to make him see this could be dangerous to you as well. Eight of Pentacles, that's what they're working on. That's the plan. And the Moon. That's the plan, but they're trying to keep the plan secret for right now. So we're not going to hear about this yet. Nobody's really ready to come out. It's very interesting that Tim Pritchett came out and said what he said, but we're not going to hear somebody co-sign on that right now. But just, it was very interesting, and I think Spirit just wants us to know that eventually Congress they're already sort of chomping at the bit. We saw enough energy behind the scenes. They're chomping at the bit to come after this guy, to come after Musk, to figure out a way to take him down. Because it's him that's taking away their power, while F47 sits back and says, hey, this is my guy. He hooked me up. I got it, it is what it is right now, y'all. I need you to just work with me here. And they are behind the scenes, like just looking for that opening, and or they want to create that opening. And I think the Empress is also our markets. Spirit, is the Empress also representing our markets? Because if our markets start to teeter, tariffs and all this other stuff, coming down the pike, if the markets start to teeter, is that going to be their opening? Because they have to be, they've got to be able to convince F47 that there's a nine of Pentacles, the money. That's what it is. If they can prove, and there comes the Empress back. You saw me shuffle. Okay, that's it. That's it. She comes back to confirm. It's about the money. That's the opening they need, you all. If the markets get funky, tariffs, the pushback from other countries regarding tariffs, the U.S. being pulled into escalating into whatever these other international horrible plans are, so-called spending with, going to take over this, going to buy Greenland, going to, do this, do that. This is all money. The money that is being reallocated or allocated for the border, when like they're showing people walking around there, there's nobody trying to come through the border right now. Wasted funds, wasted money. Congress is supposed to hold the purse. So if they can get in his ear and say, listen, the constituents, the base is upset because this is wasteful spending. This is not beneficial. And that could get in his ear enough to be able to create some distance. And once they do that, the ball is going to start to roll, you all. All right. That's what I got for today. I hope you all take really good care of yourselves. I hope this was helpful. Remember, we got to keep our chin up, our shoulders back. We got to remember to breathe. This is going to be a long haul, but there is, hang in there. All right. As we say, hold the line, you all. Hold the line. Again, I thank you all so very much. And I'll talk to you soon. Talk to you probably in a couple of days. Be good. Bye.